What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're taking a look at Diablo 4's open beta here on Windows 11 on the Steam Deck. And I'm using Handheld Companion, or HC, for my controller emulation, which is always what I use here. A great app for Windows if you're running Windows on deck. I have a video on the channel for it and more coming for Handheld Companion. But let's go ahead and get launched into Diablo 4 here. And we'll take a look at the settings. Now, we're going to start with our 1080p option first. So 1080p here, no VSync for any frame capping or anything like that. To start off with, we're going to be balanced for FSR, and we are on the low preset here. Basically, I haven't changed anything else. So we'll jump into that and take a look at how those settings are performing. Now, I don't expect much out of 1080p, and if you've been following this game, you know that these hub areas or towns or cities, they run pretty rough right now, whether partly server side or CPU intensive things on the local side and optimizations. But it's certainly a janky experience, especially though at 1080p for the deck, it can get pretty rough. Now, we'll take a look at this scene later on at 720 as well, but crossing this bridge and into the next area at 1080p, you get that invisible wall and that stutter and the rubber banding that we're kind of used to here, but it is much worse here on 1080 as we enter this area and before things settle down, which you'll see also when we check this out at 720. Once it does settle down a bit and you're in the area loaded in, it is playable and works pretty well as long as you stay away from the town area. Now, if I go in here and go ahead and turn everything down or off that I can, so we take that low preset and then we go ahead and come down even lower, it does help improve things a little bit. It's nothing major, but it can help with a few FPS changes here and there and some of the frame times when you're out here doing stuff. So anyways, that's kind of what it's going to look like when you're running 1080p custom low preset FSR unbalanced here, and it's not necessarily the best experience when it comes to trying to play Diablo here on the deck. Now, if we cap to 30 FPS though, things do get a little bit better. You still experience those weird things happening in the cities and hub areas and losing frames and that type of thing, and that's kind of what we have right now with this game on PC. But out in the world, when you're doing your quest and battling and that type of thing, the 30 FPS cap actually is fairly beneficial here for 1080p. So if you're trying to play docked at the higher res of 1080 over 720 or 800p, this is probably a pretty good option for you to lock down to 30. 40 FPS doesn't work out so well here with these settings. It's just the deck's not really running this game at 1080 very well, and I didn't necessarily expect it to, but you can at least get it to a pretty playable situation if you're wanting to do that. Now, if we go over here and we turn textures all the way down to low, which is the only thing I hadn't done yet to kind of try to help with the VRAM a little bit, which I am running 4 gigs of VRAM in the BIOS, it doesn't really change anything. So whether I ran low or medium textures back and forth, it didn't really seem to make much of a difference, and we still fill up the RAM either way. Now, if I go in here and turn off FSR and we go over to 720p with the same low custom settings here that we were just running, we're going to get a lot better experience, especially as we get into the city or hub area here. Yeah, it still has odd frame times and stutters and frame drops and things like that in these areas. Again, this is what we're dealing with this game, but you can tell here it certainly runs much better here at 720p with even no FSR turned on yet. And as we go into this area we were talking about at nighttime, the load in or rubber banding here isn't near as bad. You see it here and you hit that invisible wall, but then you're right through, things settle down, and here we are with that same bear, and it just runs a good bit better here than what you were seeing over at 1080. 720p or 800p is definitely the sweet spot for this game when it comes to the deck, though you can pull off 1080p as you saw probably at the 30 FPS cap. But this is a great way to go if you do want to cap 30 FPS or 40 FPS at 720p to save some battery. Now, here we go with the FSR turned on to quality to see what we would get here, and it does indeed help increase our FPS and our performance. So I would definitely recommend on Windows, if you're running 720p here, FSR quality is actually pretty helpful when it comes down to getting a decent experience when you're out here. Now, if we change things over to medium for the preset, leaving everything else the same with FSR quality, I was surprised it actually runs pretty well. It's nowhere near as good as that custom low preset we were just running there, but it does work out, which tells me if you wanted to maybe run a medium preset and a 30 FPS cap on 720, just to have the increased graphics, you could pull that off as well. And in the city area though, again, the higher your graphics settings and the harder things are hitting, they're just janky areas right now. So the lower the settings, the better when you're in these areas, but you can get away with more here on 720p as medium runs better on 720 than low on 1080. All right, as far as a 60 FPS cap goes with these settings, it's not really going to hold 60 the whole time. We could up FSR a bit to help with that a little bit more. It still wouldn't necessarily hold it. And if you're docked at all, you're going to really notice the degradation in the visual quality. So I just left FSR quality here to see what it would do, and it actually does help a good bit. We get some overhead there with the 60 FPS cap, and it's pretty good. So if you want to go 30, 40, or 60, you're going to be able to get away with it here, depending on what you want to get out of your battery life and your experience overall here with Diablo 4 on Windows. Hopefully the game will perform really well when it launches in June. We'll certainly be retesting everything and going deeper and into more recommended settings and stuff like that when the game actually launches. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.